he's good to go. Told him you're gonna get going in a second here. Let me just. You got the logo. So you did. Yep. So I think started.
All right, so welcome to the August 17th, 2020 meeting of the North Brookfield School Committee. This meeting is being recorded by the North Brookfield LTAC. If there's anyone present who's also recording this meeting, please raise your hand so others are aware. This meeting is also being broadcast via Zoom, and we are going to continue the
Attempt.
Thank you. Attempt to make all of our meetings remote from now on. Please be considerate, understanding this is brand new and technological glitches happen, but we are going to do our best. I don't think we have any recognitions. Well, actually, I want to give a recognition. I want to give a recognition. I think I've already done, but to the people that were volunteered to do the reentry committee, because that was a lot of work in a really short period of time. But I also want to give a recognition to our administrators, who I know have worked really, really hard all summer long, and also to the staff as well. I know that they have all been working hard in preparing for this new school year, and it's a brand new, different sort of thing, and I think we've said it before, is that unfortunately there is no good way to do it this year, but everyone I know is working hard to make it the best experience for our students. So, is Megan with us on via Zoom, the student advisory update, student representative update? If you're out there, Megan.
Don't see her.
So,
wait a minute.
She's coming right now.
Okay. Excellent, great. We're looking forward to hearing the first update of the 2021 school year from Megan. I'm always going to say this wrong. Focus. Thank you. And while we're waiting, so we got 2 school committee members here, and we got 2 school committee members remotely. So one of them has a family event, so this is kind of neat for us, I think.
So Mrs. Millard and Mrs. Holtham are remote. Mr. Canada and Mrs. Tucker are obviously here.
While we're waiting for Megan, actually, I'll just skip ahead and to approve the school committee special meeting of August 10th, 2020. Elizabeth or Ruth or Tim, we just need a motion to approve those.
I move to approve the minutes of the special meeting of August 10th.
I second.
Great. Heard you, Elizabeth. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. All right.
4-0. Great, thank you.
And I don't think we have any correspondence or presentations. This is actually probably going to be kind of a short meeting. Actually, again, while we're waiting, so this is our regular monthly meeting. We have them the 3rd Monday of the month. But Mr. Lynn, I know that there may be parents on there who have questions. Just a reminder that the parent forums are actually upcoming this weekend. When are they again?
So the parent forums are set for Wednesday night for North Brookfield Elementary School students. Grades pre-K to 2 begin at 6 p.m. and grades 3 through 6 begin at 7:30. They're both meetings are via Zoom. We'll have members of our reentry team available, do a brief presentation, and then take some questions.
And did the email that you sent out on that, did that have the email address?
No, the link for Zoom, no, I'm going to send that out.
Because I think that's worth knowing. If they have questions that are real important, they want to get them in ahead of time,
Yep.
that's a good opportunity to do that.
And then the Thursday night, the 20th, the junior senior high school, grades 7 and 8 at 6 p.m. and the 9 through 12 at 7:30 p.m. again via Zoom.
So hey Jen, is Megan with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Megan. Go ahead.
So we just held a fifth grade orientation at the school, and we did like three 1 hour sessions, and we walked them through the schedule. And then we did a tour of the school, and I feel like it overall went really, really well. I learned a lot from it, but otherwise, I don't think we have any other.
Okay, that's a big update. That was a big
Yeah.
thing for you guys to do for the 7th graders to transition.
So just shout out to the members of our student council. They did a fabulous job welcoming the incoming 7th graders, Megan and all our cohorts, with student council, Ms. Malone, Mr. Karski, our new English language arts teacher, Mr. Sloan, the grade 7 class advisor, came. Mrs. Priestley made an appearance, missing her 6th graders who are now 7th graders. It was really well done. Mrs. Powers did a fabulous job. Sure, I'm missing people, but I don't mean to. The other thing that I spoke to the student council about, Megan's sister, was the discussion at the previous school committee meeting about the mascot and the nickname for our school district, and asked student council to engage in discussion about that, because I think a student's input is hugely important in this type of thing, and certainly moving forward, getting that feedback will be important for the committee.
Great. Yeah, we'll be revisiting that in a future meeting. All right. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
All right. So no correspondence, no presentations, no public participation. I do actually have a school committee report. So if I can find it, give me a second. So I did present this to the other school committee members via email, and some of them responded. So, you know, last week we voted for a hybrid plan. Obviously, it's none of the plans that we could have had were great because of the situation, the entire situation we're in. The Worcester School Committee last week actually had a motion that they voted that they wanted to send to our state reps and the Department of Education and the governor. And if I give me a second here to find it, there we go. So the motion that I am going to ask my school committee members to vote on is to request the state have ongoing, easily accessible free testing with a quick turnaround in operation across the state by September 16th as school districts bring students back into session. I think it would be key to have that sort of testing available for schools. Otherwise, unfortunately, we're looking at extended absences, both staff and students. If people were to suspect having COVID-19 or to actually eventually get tested positive. So, did any of the school committee members have any questions about that or comments? I actually can't see Elizabeth and Ruth, so did you guys have any questions?
No, I had a chance to read it, and I'm in agreement with your suggestion on this.
Okay. Me too. All right, great.
So is this a resolution that you're
Yep, I guess it
Yeah.
would be a resolution, right?
Okay.
So a resolution that we are going to send forward to the state leadership that, you know, they are very eager to see schools reopen. This is something that schools cannot provide to staff or students. This is something that we feel the state really should be providing to protect the health and safety of our staff and students. So I do need a motion.
So I move to approve the resolution that we, as presented. That's much easier.
I second.
second.
Elizabeth won.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks a lot, and we will be forwarding that on to state leadership. Thanks. So moving on, financial reports.
We're really in a similar position as we've been. We've started to expend some funds, particularly in some of the areas like supplies. Certainly, we see some expenditures in salaries because people are obviously being paid. So it's still so early. You'll see a lot of 0% used
in your expenditure report on the district budget. There are some areas that have, significant expenditure. Tech hardware is at 38%, which makes sense. We've done a lot of work already to improve the technology area. So not a lot to report out of the district budget. In terms of the grants, again, it's very similar to what you saw last time. You'll see certain accounts at certain levels. Things like our AM/PM athletic user fees hasn't changed much since last March 15th, to be honest. We haven't really collected anything. We haven't really expended anything, some minor expenditures. A couple of things to point out that are important for you. The school choice account, which is on the first page of the monthly grant revolving account. It's the fourth one down. It's labeled 0006 school choice. That has a pretty significant amount of money in it, almost a little over $900,000. That is slightly misleading because a good portion of that is scheduled to be expended in the coming days to cover salaries for the end of FY 20. And that's one of the, in the budget process, one of the offsets that we use. And we're getting funding based on school choice numbers coming in from we've received it for FY 20, and that's the money that we kind of put forward for the FY 21 budget. So it's, a lot of it is pre-spent. There is some overflow, but not $900,000 worth. I don't want people to look at a report and go, oh, you're tucking away, all this money. It's already, the majority of it is already spent through offsets or anything we collect in FY 20 is what we use for our next budget cycle for FY 21. So that's already in this budget to expend, the FY 21 budget. Circuit breaker, the same thing. We carried over as we can, up to 100%. And again, that's all money that's in our budget as an offset to fund special education costs. Mostly some of our out-of-district tuitions and some other costs that might go with that. But those are kind of the two larger grant accounts that you'll see. And I know sometimes there's questions of why do you have that kind of money in there, and it's really not. It's not a lot. It looks like a lot, it's just not. It's already predetermined. So I think that about covers everything. There's some, you'll see some new ones as we apply for the various grants that come out. For example, the CBRF grant is the Coronavirus Relief Fund grant. It's part of the original CARES Act funding. Our district allocation is about $135,000. We've applied for that money, and that is strictly for opening in the time of coronavirus. So a lot of those funds are being expended on things like going through the HVAC system, repairing windows, buying HEPA 13 filters, which are amazingly expensive, and a variety of other expenses. I won't go through them all, but you'll see that come on the grant account. And again, that's just for opening expenses to open the building safely. So happy to answer any questions if you have any from either the district budget or the grant accounts.
I actually just like to point something out, that both the elementary school music, the band, and the art all have money in them. And I hope the teachers are able to use that. And then I always like to point out the library gift fund. I mean, I know buying books might be different this year, there's money there, so.
So we have 2 new music teachers coming on board. We'll make them aware of that. And
Yeah.
we have a relatively new art teacher who started last year, who I think knows about it, but if he doesn't, I'm sure Mrs. Priestley will make him well aware of it. And I know the library gift account people are aware of it.
I think I bring it up every other meeting.
I know, that's all right, good. Remind us.
All right. So it's Ruth or Elizabeth or Tim, you guys comments or questions about the financial report?
Nope.
All right. So go ahead there, Mr. Lins.
All right, so just a couple of things. First, we've been not only planning to reopen school in the coronavirus world, but also doing all the things we normally need to do, which includes hiring. So in your packet, there is a current list of where we're at in the hiring process. Zach Fisher, and I know these have been maybe mentioned before, was hired for the elementary school music. Mike Weber, band and chorus at the junior senior high school. Tiffany Klein, adjustment counselor here at the elementary school. We have 2 new SLPAs,
Which are what?
speech and language pathology assistants. They work with Jamie, our speech pathologist, and provide service. Grace Bryn and Melanie Pinto. We have a new pre-K teacher, Jacqueline Fernandez. We mentioned before that we had a retirement. Mr. Doros retired, and Mr. Tift has moved from English language arts at the middle school to history at the middle school. And I think I mentioned it before, Heather Tokarski has been hired as our English language arts teacher at the middle school. And we need to provide ELL services, English language learner services, and so we've hired a tutor, Caitlin Perrin. And that leaves a couple of positions. I have an interview tomorrow actually with our technology person, computer technician that we're looking to hire. We have a recommendation from Mrs. Priestley on the grade 5 math science teacher, and I'll be meeting with that person in the coming days. We still need a high school biology teacher and a special education teacher for a medical leave. So we're not in horrible shape. I mean, I wish they were all filled in, but that's not how it works. And we'll keep plugging away at it, and hopefully in the coming days we'll start to wrap up these final couple of positions. None of them are sort of not in process. They're all somewhere in the process moving along. So high school biology had a little bit of a setback, but we'll move forward with that and find the appropriate person in the coming days. So questions, I guess, about hiring new staff?
Nope.
Nope, keep going. All right, in terms of opening, just kind of the quick updates. We've sent out all our various surveys, our back to school, back to work surveys. And as of just before the meeting started, a little bit before 7, these are the current sort of numbers. For our staff, we've had 74 out of about 100 responses. We have one person who doesn't believe they can return due to some underlying health conditions. We have a couple others who are still working with their families and their doctor about those decisions, and they have through Wednesday to make the decision. And we have a couple of others who are concerned about childcare, and we're going to continue to work with our staff to try to accommodate people as needed. Certainly, there are some federal pieces in place to help folks if we're unable to support them in some way. But our goal is to try to accommodate our staff in any way we can, obviously within the guidelines of appropriate HR kinds of policies and procedures. So that's gone really well. We had a staff forum on Friday, and I thought we had a good number of people attend, certainly not everybody in the middle of the summer, but you know, answered a lot of questions. It was about an hour and 15 minutes long, and I don't know, 30 questions or so were asked. I didn't count them, but just a guess. And we were able to work through most, if not all of those. The student registration form was sent out yesterday, I believe. The days are running together. About 520 kids in the district. We've received about 190 responses already, which is wonderful in 24 hours. At this point, we have 155 students, parents who have selected hybrid for their students, 25 that have selected remote only, and within that, 10 are from the junior senior high school and 15 are from the elementary school. And we have 10 parents that have selected not attending. One is a school choice student and 9 are homeschool choices. For those parents who are selecting homeschool, we'll be reaching out to ensure that they've followed the appropriate sort of protocols to make sure they've applied. Mrs. Powers is our homeschool coordinator, and certainly she's a good resource. But you can contact any of us and we can get you the information you need. For those people that are thinking about homeschool, totally understand it, it's a choice, but please remember that remote only is an option that we're offering up to families, you know, at parents' discretion, not one that relies on a student having underlying health conditions. If the parent just feels like that's the best solution this year, then they certainly can select that. And that was a slight change we made as the reentry team met. So I know there was still maybe some questions about that out there, and I want to make sure people know.
And then just in regards to the homeschooling, some people they have sent in their information and they're waiting for a response, but that will be coming shortly.
Yeah, everyone who's sent it in as of,
Yeah, you're not going to hear you.
everyone who is sent in homeschool as of last Friday should get letters of approval in the mail. They went out today, so all of those have been processed. I did receive one that came in this morning, but that'll be approved or processed this week.
So next week, yep.
Can you just clarify also, Frank, I'm watching, those who select the remote only option, will they have a North Brookfield teacher?
So yes, the idea
The idea
is that we will assign North Brookfield teacher to work with a cohort of students
who
are
are
remote
remote
only.
only.
Probably set up by grade ranges. Those remote only teachers will work with the classroom teachers about what's going on in class and provide instruction and support to students who are working from home remote only. They will not have, if your child is assigned to Mrs. Sullivan's second grade, Mrs. Sullivan won't be doing the remote only. Another teacher will be.
And also, just to kind of connect it back to something that you said before, this in part allows you to work with and accommodate as best as possible the teachers who feel they are unable to return to
Exactly.
teaching. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so
We'll
we'll match people up
and go from there. So, yeah, I'm hoping that this works out well for all involved to be able to accommodate people, whether it's kids or staff, who feel like they need to stay at home at this point, for whatever reason. And, you know, we'll go from there. Just to finish up, the hybrid, the 155 that have selected hybrid, just to kind of give you a sense, 52 of those have selected riding the bus to and from school. I actually only looked at riding the bus to school, because some might not select both, but I just looked at the AM buses. So out of the 155, 52 have selected riding the bus. Which, again, that means the other 100 and whatever, 100 or so kids will either walk or be a parent drop-off, which makes me feel good about our ability to maintain the buses as they are.
And then in terms of parent drop-off, I have no idea what the percentage of parents that drop off, but will you be, it's going to be different a little bit, right? And you'll be providing information, maybe a video, so that is often a point of tension.
It
Confusion.
creates confusion.
Confusion, yes,
It
that's a
creates
better word.
confusion
Yep.
and then potential safety, so.
Right, so that's just, and as someone like myself who, my kids generally took the bus this year, I'm gonna drop my daughter off, help us learn the way of doing it.
So the first thing is, I would say, is in the plans, there is links for both schools for a map that will show buses and parent drop-off areas. But certainly we can follow up with specific emails and postings to point that out, because it is a big document, I get that. But
Well, I think it's worth doing just a little video.
if parents are curious, certainly, you can look at the plan and then we'll follow up and provide information about. Want to say something, Sarah? Are you good? Nice and loud.
So the traffic pattern is changed for parent drop-offs. So like Mr. Lynn said, the diagram is in the plan, but having, kind of a reenactment would be helpful. But it is going to be different, so parents will want to be aware of that before the start of school.
And at the junior senior high, kind of the same thing. We're going to adjust it a bit. Just briefly, our buses are actually going to drop off out behind the junior senior high by the cafeteria entrance. And parents will use the sort of the driveway right in front of the school, with the middle school kids being dropped off at the middle school door and the high school students being dropped off at the main entrance. Again, we're trying to spread people out so that we don't have any bottlenecks in terms of the number of people trying to enter any one location. So buses will continue at the elementary school to drop off in the bus zone, but we'll use different doors for the different buses as they pull in. So the plan is to sort of spread out and give people enough room to be able to enter without, backup. So, but we'll get more information out. If you're curious in advance, please check the plan.
Can I add one thing too? In just figuring, you'll probably get to this, but one of the questions that will logically follow this as we're getting these surveys in is the cohort assignments and those sorts of questions. So the sooner everyone responds to this, I assume the sooner you'll be able to make your decisions regarding how the cohorts are assigned, how the buses are assigned. So
you're speaking Mrs. Powers and Mrs. Priestley's language. So the surveys are due by Friday, the end of the day, and we selected Friday just because the parent forums are on Wednesday and Thursday, and we wanted to make sure if people had questions before they made a final choice, that they had a chance to ask.
And those were two of the most popular questions.
Right.
How are you
So as
assigning?
soon as we finalize the parental choices, and that's really important that we get every student in there, we'll be able to finalize the cohorts, which then allows parents to get that information. As soon as we have that, we're going to get it out to parents, letting them know what cohort they're in. And then that'll allow parents to plan accordingly as well. So,
So action items for everybody out there. The parent forums are Wednesday is elementary school, pre-K through 2 is at 6:30?
6.
6? 3 through 6 is at 7:30?
Yep.
Okay, and then Thursday is middle school, high school. Middle school is 6, so 7th and 8th.
Yep.
9 and
through
high
12.
school, 9 through 12 is at 7:30?
Yep.
Okay, and then the registration that was emailed out and also shared on Facebook is due Friday. And And at that point, then they can start making decisions about, for the children who are attending hybrid, about things like cohorts and days and that kind of thing.
So tell your friends and neighbors.
So, there is a question in the chat, about the survey, asking, the parent says, I filled out a survey a few weeks ago, do I have to fill one out again? So, a few weeks ago, we sent out a preliminary, survey just to get a sense of where people, what people were thinking. And on Sunday, I emailed and, what did I post on Facebook? I don't
You
even
did,
remember.
yes, you did.
And
Yep.
posted it on Facebook. So yes, people do need to fill it out again.
This one's a final one.
Yeah,
This is
it's
not-
really important that we get your final decision. Hopefully, if you have all your questions answered and you know what you want to do, please feel free to fill it out now. If you don't know and want to attend the forum, please do that. But by Friday, I have to have everybody in, otherwise we need to start assigning people to cohorts, assuming that you're going to be selecting hybrid.
So when you fill out the registration, Mrs. Precy will, or Ms. Powers will send you a piece of, right? Kidding. That's really important. It's a final survey. I know we've filled out a lot of surveys. I think this might be number 5.
Yep.
But it is very, very important, and this is how they're going to be able to decide, and divide up the students and make the, all the choices that need to be made. Very, very important that we all fill it out, and
Including transportation.
including transportation, and also understanding that a lot of people are still, have questions. Those forums are ahead of the deadline, which, and so we'll share that information one more time, at the end.
And then there was another registration form sent out to the families of students who be qualified for the everyday in-person model. Students in our Rise and Connect program, our preschool program, our ELL students. 60 students were invited to that. Again, these are our highest needs students. And this was sent out today, this afternoon. And I've already received 12 responses on that of the 60, and all 12 have selected the everyday in-person model. So we're rolling along, we're collecting this information.
Mr.
Can
Minucci,
you just make sure that folks know that they do have the 3 choices with this survey?
Yeah, so if a student was selected to be an all-in-person, be invited to that program, parents still can choose hybrid, remote, or not attend if they choose to homeschool or do something, or the everyday model. So they can choose any of the approaches. There is an extra option of coming every day. We'll get more information out to those folks about what Wednesdays will look like. Right now, we're thinking a half day. The preschool.
Sorry.
Right now we're thinking because we do have an AM/PM preschool program, a half-day program, so we're looking at options for those Wednesdays for that group. How are we going to support that? So there's obviously still stuff to work out. We're working on it.
And we, one of the things I think, it is really hard, to plan. This year is very, very difficult, and I completely empathize, because as a parent myself, usually at this time of year we're buying the notebooks and making sure they get shoes that fit and the backpacks and the lunch boxes. I know it's really, really hard to plan, but this is all information that once they have, the administrators and the staff have it, they're going to be able to, make things work. And fortunately, we do have that 2 extra weeks.
So another comment in the chat, I think some people were confused. I had to tell a couple of friends that they do need to do the survey again. So it may be worth sending another reminder. We'll certainly do that tomorrow. A reminder that the forms are coming and that to fill out the registration form. And we'll do another one Thursday and probably another reminder Friday just to keep it fresh in people's minds. Speaking of the extra staff days, we have 12 professional learning days for our staff. Today, Mrs. Powers and Mrs. Priestley and Mr. Minucci met, and we're pulling together what that might look like. I have kind of a draft here, and what we have discussed is having it be more of a thematic type of approach, and there are 4 themes: building strong relationships, digital teaching and learning, obviously safety procedures, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And there's actually kind of a 5th theme, and it's more just sort of staff logistics. Giving people where they need to be, when they need to be there, duty rosters, that kind of stuff. But in terms of trainings, we've tried to identify days so that it's really a themed approach, so people can focus on digital learning an entire day or entire 2 days. We certainly do not plan to have people sitting in an auditorium having someone speak at them about whatever for 6.5 hours. We plan to sort of get people up, moving around, move from one activity to another, to ensure that, not putting people to sleep and sending them over the edge by just sitting there listening. There's certainly some direct training that has to happen. But I think the majority of it needs to be interactive, staff talking, staff interacting, staff disagreeing with each other, coming up with different solutions to try to build the best models that we can to ensure kids get what they need. So again, I feel like we're building it on the fly because teachers are due back next Monday at 8 a.m. So usually this is long done, our planning. But I'm excited about what we've already talked about and what we've put together so far, and we have a few days left to fill in the blanks. In terms of technology, we're getting stuff ready for kids and staff. We have a bunch of Chromebooks and iPads ready for use. We had our network Wi-Fi has been upgraded, so people will be happy to hear that the 100 dead spots in our buildings are probably down to 2. There's always dead spots, but the number of dead spots are significantly decreased, which in the speed and the reliability of the network is only going to be greater, and it needs to be as you add devices. The need for technology to do what we need to do. So pretty exciting stuff there. We'll get more information about the kids picking up their Chromebooks at the junior, senior high level. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this publicly yet because I haven't received clearance from the state, but we did receive a grant from the state. It's a matching grant that allows us to make sure that students who do not have access, not their own device necessarily, don't have access to a device at home, for elementary school students, because our junior, senior high students will get a Chromebook, we'll be able to get you a device.
So that actually was a question
Yeah.
that some parents had. So there will be devices available for elementary schools for families that don't have them.
Yeah. With that same grant, we also will be able to provide internet access to families in North Brookfield and North Brookfield Public Schools that don't have access. It's a grant that allows us to purchase broadband internet through Charter Spectrum and provide up to 1 year of broadband internet. So the first year would be based on matching funds between the state and the school district.
And we're able to match it because of the grants we received through the federal CARES.
You got it. Perfect. And then after that year is up, my understanding is parents can continue it, although Charter Spectrum has to come out with all that information, and we'll communicate that to parents directly, because it will be a parent's account, not the school's account. Our only job is getting it up and running and paying the first year off. After that, it's the parents working with Charter Spectrum, and at the end of the year, depending on affordability and what what Charter Spectrum is able to offer. I think right now it's $30 a month. Then people could continue it. I don't know if there'll be other deals coming out, but that was my last thing. This is a brand new program that actually kicked off, I believe, on August 12th.
And so in terms of providing information about this to families, you're going to be emailing that out? Or?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to do another survey. It's going to be a technology survey, and one question will be to elementary parents about the availability of a device, and the other question will be to all families about access to the internet, broadband internet. Based on our previous surveys, I estimate there's about 40 families that we heard from that they don't have internet, and about 40 families at the elementary school that don't have a device.
Okay, so be on the lookout for another survey, because Mr. Lynn really likes.
And I know you like hearing from me. Unfortunately, these are the, collecting the data this way is so much quicker and more efficient.
And there'll be, and you, I'm assuming most people must have cell phone access for email, but in case there are people who are, there's other ways that people will be contacted or contact the school, correct? That question.
Absolutely.
Call.
Email me, whatever.
Use the cell phone for actually calling.
Another question in the chat was just, is there any change in school supply lists? I think principals can get that out to families and resend any supplies that are needed. The question is about supply lists due to changes, so, in terms of trying to limit exposure or spreading of germs. So, our goal is for kids to have their own stuff in front of them at all times if possible. If things do need to be shared, the idea that we're disinfecting after use. We certainly don't have one of everything, things we need to share.
But the lists that were published, like the elementary school list, that is accurate. That is not,
Okay,
that's up to date, correct?
perfect.
And I know Mrs. Priestley's heard that question from me, like
Preschool put out a list.
preschool put out a list as well.
So I think that's all my updates for opening the year. I know there's probably a million more questions and a million more things to cover. If they are related to opening and your choice about hybrid, remote, etc., please feel free to join the parent forum. Please feel free to read the plan or the parent FAQ, contact the principal or administrator, ours, Mrs. Priestley, technology, Mrs. O'Hara. Any and all of us, there's questions one of us can't answer, they'll get it to someone else who can. So
there was one question about whether if you had students in different groups, did you need to go to both forums?
Oh, I missed that one. So,
a lot of the same information will be shared in all 4 forums. We broke them up by age ranges because I think there are some developmental kinds of questions. I know questions about mask wearing. I know questions about schedules and things, recess. That doesn't apply to high school. So there may be some specific information that's more important to those grade ranges. I would encourage people to attend more than one, but I understand if you have kids in multiple, that could be very challenging. If you can't attend, you can always email myself or one of the administrators your question, or call us, and we'll try to get you an answer. But I think the majority of the information will be fairly, pretty typical standard for all 4 forums. It just probably will be packaged a little bit different based on the age range of the kids. So I'd say it's the parents' call, and we'll certainly work with a parent who can't attend a meeting for one of their children because they were in another one.
And I think also, Tim, you mentioned the email for questions as well, because that might be helpful.
Yeah, there is an email address specifically for questions regarding the reopening plan.
And you remember what?
And an email was sent out.
Return to school
At
at
NB Schools.
nbschools.org.
So return to school, all one word,
Yep.
at nbschools.org. It should be older.
Yep.
we did send out the email of frequently asked questions, our top
Yep.
11 kind of question themes, not specific questions, but,
So one suggestion might be, just like when you do other stuff, is that before you send a question, check the fact document that was both emailed and shared on Facebook on the North Brookfield Public Schools page. Just look at that and see if your questions are answered, and if not, then, email the return to schools at NB, I got it wrong, but.
At nbschools.org,
Yeah.
yep. Just like this.
Don't listen to me, read what was written.
I put it in the chat, I'll make sure it's in the updates.
And then, of course, there are the forums, and a lot of us are gonna have similar questions, so.
and the plan itself is
Very,
very
very
clickable. So if you were interested in parent drop-off, you can click the table of contents link to get you to the parent drop-off section.
Which is what I should have done.
And then you can click the map button, which will then, the link will take you to the map. You can get a better feel for it, so.
It's a very comprehensive document. There's lots and lots of information in there, and another good resource for answering questions.
So there was a comment in the chat, Focus, thank you. I'd like to compliment the task force on the comprehensive reentry plan that was created for the North Brookfield Public Schools. I reviewed it and was pleased with how much information was included and how organized it was. Great job. Thanks, Mrs. Focus. Appreciate it. So I think that's
Yep.
that's enough now for now.
It's overwhelming. It really is overwhelming, and everyone just take it piece by piece, and we'll be good.
So the last piece to my update is we received the year-end audit report. This is conducted by our accountants, Scanlon and Associates. We contract with them to conduct any of our audits. They're an approved vendor for Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Essentially, this is the FY19 end of the year report, which is over a year since FY19 ended.
So FY19 actually ended in July of.
Yeah, June 30th of 2019.
Yep. Okay, so a year ago.
And that's how long these things take, because it's an amazingly complex and sophisticated process of various schedules and reports that actually Mrs. LeBlanc completes. Every expense needs to be coded to the correct area, and it's just this web of sort of various expenses that go to different things. So it's a really challenging process. Mrs. LeBlanc works with the Department of Ed during the year. They give her feedback, we go back and forth, and then ultimately, after it's all finalized, it goes to the accountants who go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And what this report outlines is feedback on fixes that we need to implement. And while they're doing this, Mrs. LeBlanc works with the accountants, so when they find an area that needs to be fixed. So the first one, for example, is general requirement number 1, capital A, small a, expenditures reported to Schedule 1 should go improperly reported, and then they bullet list what those expenditures are and how it can affect a different schedule in that same report. So you can see how it just goes back and forth. And then what we have to do, and what most of these will read, is the district has filed an amendment to what we submitted to the Department of Education to correct the finding. And so this essentially says we had all these, call them errors. It's really not fair to call them errors, that the accountant found. We fix them, we send them into DESE, and they accept them and certify that the end of the year report is complete. And that's essentially what this report is. So I've never gotten a report from an accountant that didn't have action items to be addressed. And so we'll continue to work. It's funny because today we actually got the email from the Department of Education to begin the FY20 end of the year report. And next year at this time, you will get this report for the FY20 that ended, a month and a half ago. So it's a huge job that Sheila spends really almost the whole year working on. Because we get all the money from state, federal, local, it all has to be grants, itemized, and to the right schedules and accounts. So Sheila does a tremendous job with this kind of work, and we couldn't go on if she didn't do this kind of work, to be honest. So her work's appreciated.
Thank you to Mrs. LeBlanc, then.
Yes, absolutely. And this is the love of her job, and I'm saying that very facetiously behind my mask. If you didn't get the tone, it's a struggle for her and any of the other business administrators in the state to work through this process. It's just amazingly complex. So it's done. We're in good shape, and now on to FY20 for her on that, and we're in FY21. So that's it. Any questions about any of those items? Happy to answer.
Ruth or Elizabeth, any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So
Relatively quickly,
relatively
the
quick.
administrators' reports, if you just want to give us your highlights. Starting with high school with Mrs. Powers.
That's as close as I can get it.
Okay, no worries, I'll talk loud. So for the junior, senior high school, I just want to reiterate, 7th grade orientation went really well. Thank you to the teachers who came and helped, as well as the student council members. We had almost all the 7th graders come, get a sense of what the school looks like, kind of share some of their hopes and their fears, and hear from current students about what they are, what are they thinking as they come in. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight for the junior, senior high school is that each classroom teacher for their class will be using Google Classroom this year. So every class will have their own Google Classroom where there'll be communication between home and school. So as we get into the school year with teachers coming back, parents and guardians, be looking to see an invitation for Google Classroom, and please join it so you can keep track of things that are happening with your students.
I'd like to add two things. Well, it's one thing. Thanks to the staff that has participated, one, in the subcommittee for the reentry task force to help design what school will look like on a hybrid model and a remote model, all these different sort of changes that we've had to make on the fly. And secondly, the teachers that have participated in our teaching and learning times. Mrs. Powers has hosted, I think 4 or 5 different 1 hour plus kinds of meetings. Teachers logged in at their own time. And we've had various topics each week to kind of kick around and kind of group think what it might look like in as school reopens. I think it's just a great help to talk through some of these challenges with folks. Scheduling, whether it's what does digital learning look like, or building relationships look like, or social emotional learning. How do we help kids who have experienced trauma? I think everybody has experienced trauma on some level. It's just sort of a level of trauma over the last 6 months. So we've kicked around a lot of different topics, and it's been really, really great to have people log on and share sort of their professional expertise with each other. So it's been really good.
And a lot from those conversations has led to input in the plan as well.
Why don't you stay there? We're gonna jump the line a little bit and have you do the curriculum update.
All right, so for curriculum, Mr. Lynn talked already a little bit about our August work days and how we're finalizing those plans. And then really my only update is that Wednesday and Thursday of this week is new teacher orientation. So our new teachers to the district will join Mrs. Dubuque, our mentor coordinator, on Wednesday and Thursday to hear from all the administrators, to get their technology up and running, as well as kind of meeting their mentors for the first time and really kick off their welcome to North Brookfield. So we're super excited about that, and we'll get everyone ready to get back with all of the teachers when they come back next Monday. But it's a nice chance for new teachers to have the building to themselves, have the administrators and Mrs. Dubuque to be able to answer any questions before the school year starts.
And just your federal entitlement grants,
Yes.
those were what we anticipated approximately.
Correct. Yep. There was a fluctuation, not more than probably $1,000 in certain areas, but those are all offsets that we set in the budget, and I've applied. I'm just waiting for approval so we can start spending that money.
Which is hard. We do the budget when we do it, and we get the allocations in mid-July. So we're guessing what the allocations would be.
Right.
So that has budget implications, which is why I wanted to. Cool.
Priestley. Hello. How you doing? Good.
Good.
I have one big update from my update that I shared with you in your packet, which is to personally thank the staff who helped over the summer. Similar to what Mr. Lynn said he and Mrs. Powers had done, was over the last 6 weeks we held, I called them Reopening Reimagined meetings, and opened it to staff to volunteer their own time every Monday for an hour, and we discussed some different topics similar to what the high school did, and a lot of their input absolutely went into the plan, things that they thought of that I hadn't thought of yet, and I feel a lot of great minds put together. We were able to come up with some awesome approaches that we're really excited for when school opens. Topics from family engagement to teaching and learning, building relationships with kids. A lot of that input is driving our professional development that we will have for staff. So I just wanted to thank all of those teachers for giving up that time over the summer to be part of these conversations. It's awesome. We had a really good turnout every Monday. We had a lot of staff coming in, and even if they were just there to listen, they were invested. And I don't think every school district or every elementary school can say that. So I'm proud of the staff that we have.
Well, we have awesome.
Yeah, and then another just piece. So kindergarten screening. I know a lot of people have been asking about that and what that's going to look like. We are in the process of working on what that will look like. So just have families stand by, and we will be getting that information out very soon. Any questions?
No, we have the new video I'll share on other parts of Facebook. You went through a lot of stuff at both the elementary school and the high school about the physical changes and things like
Yeah,
that.
both schools are looking great. They look really good.
And if anyone has any questions, they can call me here at the school. I'm here 8 to 3 every day, or they can email me at mbschools.org.
I just have a couple of things to go over. Mr. Lynn, thank you for doing the communication piece, so I don't have to do that. We had an extended school year in person this summer, which to me it just went remarkable, and I have to give a huge shout out to my staff. Think about it, this is the first step that we've made in 4 months to come in person. So there were fears, some trepidations, but it went incredibly well from my perspective.
Can you give us their names? I don't
Sure,
know.
the names of all the staff members?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it a ton? I don't know how many there are.
There's a bunch of them.
Okay.
Is it?
That's okay.
Right.
We'll get it.
They know who they are.
So we had a BCBA come in. We had occupational therapy. We had physical therapy. We had a teacher for each of the programs. And then we had a number of paraprofessionals along with our SLPAs and occupational therapy. So those are 3 service areas that typically in the summer we do very limited interaction. But because of what was going on in the spring, Mr. Lind supported this and I thank him, supported us, offering some extra services. And the staff just did a phenomenal job, and it was good to see students in person. It gave us a lot of really critical data on planning for the fall. We got to see some areas that we had to tighten up and do some things. So in what I would call a more controlled setting, we were able to do this. And I just think it was fantastic.
How did the students do with it?
So one of the interesting things, and what I will say to everyone listening, is that one of the things for special education, we want to look at progress and how students are doing. So I'm happy to say the majority of the students actually were pretty good in their progress. If you look at what our expectations were for their progress, they did real well. As far as their interactions and how they did, they wanted to be in school. They appreciated the interaction. They were grateful to be with their teachers and with their friends and have that interaction that we look for. So I think it was a really good way for us to kind of see mini scale like what the fall is going to look like. And again, I thought it went as well as could be expected. Did we have some glitches? But overall it went really well.
Really good to hear.
Just to interject one technological thing, Mr. Lin forgot his charger at home, so he has 30 minutes left on his laptop. So, which I know that our
Speaking of technology glitches,
it's
mine.
So we have a little less than 30 minutes to wrap it up.
I'm wrapping up though. The only thing other thing I want to mention is unified basketball is something I've been talking about for a long time.
Yep.
Applications are in. It looks like we're going to get a grant for $2,000. So we will have unified basketball here at North Brookfield.
At some point.
Unfortunately, this year it is questionable, of course, just.
Well, right. It all depends on MIAA. But
right.
We did get approved.
But we know in the future there will be.
We got approved and we're going to get a grant and all that good
news.
stuff.
Awesome.
So some good things going on in my world. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mr. Minucci.
Thank you.
And thanks to your staff.
Mine will be very quick because Mr. Lynn went over most of it already. We have the addition of the 300 Chromebooks that will be ready for staff and student pickup in the next 2 weeks. The new 60 iPads and the 3 new charging carts for K through 2 classrooms to share. With the addition of the Chromebooks in the junior, senior high school, some of the existing Chromebooks will come over to the elementary school for 3 through 6 grades to share. All the end of the year reports through DESE are completed and certified, and all of the new access points and switches and everything will be completely finished tomorrow and connected within the district. So we have at least 95% of every classroom in the district that has their own access point within the classroom.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
That's great. Thank you.
Great news. So Mr. Shaw has his report here.
He's here.
Oh, is he here?
Oh, is he here?
Go ahead, Marty.
Oh, hi. I wanted to call out the HVAC stuff, because I know a lot of people have questions about that.
Sure. Of course, I left work and didn't print off my report, but
You want me
anyway, the school is pretty much ready. We're doing the final touches. The guys, my crew has done an excellent job of cleaning top to bottom, waxing all the floors. So we're ready for that. And the rest is just doing some final touches, a little more painting, getting the grounds ready, and getting ready to welcome everybody back.
So, as it happens, Mr. Shaw, I have your copy of your report in front of me. Just a couple points that people probably would like to know is that you've been working to source hand sanitizer, classroom disinfectants, and items. Some items are coming in, some slower than others, but you have been told the back ordered items will be shipped before the start of school, and that you have plenty of items in stock. Anyway. And then also that you have been having all the HVAC systems tested and reprogrammed for those that can be by our contractors, as well as individual classrooms, univents for bringing in more outside air. They as well are very busy as the contractors, as all schools are doing the same thing. Our AHIRA consultants, which I'm not sure, what is AHIRA?
The asbestos plan.
Okay. they also perform indoor air quality testing, and you're working with them to get that done as well.
Yes.
The staff is getting extra training this year in regards to disinfection control. And that, which you've already said, which is that your staff's been working really hard, and as always, they do a great job getting the school ready for the beginning of the year.
Thank you.
All right.
And thanks for reading that.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, I found that's something that I've found. I think it's important for people to know. All right.
That's everybody. So we have just a couple of other items we need to get through before Mr. Lynn runs out of juice. So we have subcommittees that we need to, for the school committee, we need to do a little bit of change with a couple of our subcommittees. Our contract negotiation subcommittee currently consists of myself and Mrs. Malad, but Mrs. Malad is going to resign from that, and Ms. Hontham has volunteered, so we do need a motion to nominate Ms. Hontham for that subcommittee.
I will move to nominate Ms. Hontham for the subcommittee.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. And then the policy subcommittee, which currently I actually don't remember other than me on it. We
did not.
Okay, so we do need another person to be on the policy subcommittee, although it's not super active right now. So is there anybody, one of our other members who might be willing to step up if needed?
I'll do it.
Okay. So I just need a motion to nominate Tim Canada for the position.
I move to nominate Tim Canada for the position of policy subcommittee. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And so this time he was smart to volunteer because we updated all the policy in order other than the last couple of years when it was the entire policy handbook had to be updated. But speaking of that, we do actually have a policy that does need to be updated. And we are able to dispense with the 3 readings because this is an emergency policy adoption. And this is going to fit into the BGB. Oh, sorry, no, where is it?
EBCFA.
Okay. So
that's just our current policy, so if you look in the.
Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's going to fit into the section EBCFA, and it is for face coverings. This is now going to be part of our policy. So this is, I'll read real quickly the policy. The North Brookfield Public School District is committed to providing a safe environment as schools reopen during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to public health experts, one of the best ways to stop the spread of coronavirus and to keep members of our school community safe is the use of face masks or face coverings. Therefore, in accordance with guidance from the Centers for Disease Control, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, the following requirements are in place until further notice. A face covering that covers the nose and mouth must be worn by all individuals in school buildings, on school grounds, and on school transportation, even when physically distancing is observed. Exempted from this policy are individuals may be excused from the requirement for the following list of reasons per CDC guidance. The individual has trouble breathing, is unconscious, is incapacitated, cannot remove the mask or face covering without assistance. In addition, masks or face coverings will not be required for anyone who has a medical, behavioral, or other challenge making it unsafe to wear a face mask or face covering. A written note from a physician is required for requested exemption. Parents may not excuse their child from the face mask requirement by signing a waiver. Additionally, face masks or face coverings will not be required when appropriate physical distancing is enforced. During mask breaks, while eating or drinking, during physical education classes, while outside. Exceptions to this policy under certain circumstances, such as for students with medical, behavioral, or other challenges who are unable to wear masks, must be approved by the building principal in consultation with the school nurse or local board of health. Face shields or physical barriers may provide an alternative in some instances, but in general, face shields and physical barriers are not a replacement for a mask. Student's mask or face covering is to be provided by the student's family. Staff members are responsible for providing their own face covering. However, the district will supply disposable face covering for individuals who arrive at a building or board school transportation without one. If students are in violation of this policy, the building principal will consult with the parent guardians to determine whether an exception is appropriate, or the student may be removed from the school building for in-person learning until such time as they can comply with the requirement or the requirement is lifted. Violations of this policy by staff will be handled in the same manner as other violations of school committee policy. Visitors in violation of this policy will be denied entry to the school district facility. This policy will remain in place until rescinded by the school committee.
I made one edit, just
Yep.
in that last paragraph you read, if students are in violation of this policy. It reads in the third line, a student may be removed from the school building for remote learning
Okay.
until such
Oh,
time.
whoops, yep. Yeah, and there's actually a typo.
I saw are not,
Incapacitated,
Right, yep.
where's that?
the bullet points on the first page.
Is incapacitated.
Thank you, I'll fix those.
Not to pile on, I just have a quick question on, it says in the second paragraph, it says, on school grounds or in school transportation, but down below it says the face coverings will not be required while outside. Is that?
So I guess in general, the idea is that everybody needs to wear them other than sort of during school specific breaks. I can work on language to clarify that if that's helpful, but I don't think.
Can you clarify, does that mean that masks are not required at recess?
They are required at recess, but, you know, certainly they aren't required, you know, when someone's leaving the premises, for example. Kids leave and they take it off.
You mean, but they're not required if you're outside the building on school grounds? Where you might be walking by people who are entering the building at the same time?
It's one of those tough call, like if they're leaving,
Hard to be the mask police at that point. I think what they're trying, what MASC is trying to get across on this is masks are required while they're here. They can be removed, you know, at appropriate times. So masks cannot be required when appropriate physical distancing is enforced. So that's when a teacher says, okay, it's a mask break, we're going to go outside. Or, you know, we're outside at phys ed and we're doing something where everybody has their own soccer ball and they're spread out all over the field away from each other. There are just times, you know, when they're eating, they got to take their mask off. So I think the idea is when it's enforced as opposed to observed up top, where it says physical distancing is observed, and that's by choice.
And that will be on the teacher or the recess duty person to be the person to make that call?
Yeah, and they'll work with their principal for that, to, you know, and to what's the activity and what's the need to take off the mask.
So the implication is that this policy basically says masks will be worn at all times on the school ground and in the school buildings by staff, students, and visitors unless either exempted for health reasons or a teacher has instructed the students that it is a mask break.
Right, it's time you can take off your mask. And the difference is when appropriate physical distancing is enforced versus observed.
So I guess I would say it would be very good to have this in place before school begins, but it does seem that some of the language of this is a little confusing. So is there a way that we can accept this policy but that we are going to clarify the language?
I think this kind of language is important when parents are making the decision before Friday of what they're doing.
Correct. So what I'm saying is that this language right now appears to be a little confusing. Is that what you're saying, Elizabeth?
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I'm sorry, I thought you were saying let's approve it and figure it out.
So would it,
Did I misunderstand you?
would it,
No, I guess I was saying that, but no, I see, so if the intent is clear, and it seems to be clear, but maybe not clearly written.
Okay, I'm still not 100% clear on the intent, honestly.
Right. You're right, I think it's clear in the administrator's heads, but it has not been clearly articulated. So, although it would be good to have it in time, it seems like I think it would be better if it was, rewritten, and then we'll accept it hopefully in September.
Yeah. I mean, one of the questions I anticipate, because I might have it myself as a parent, when you have students who are exempted from wearing a mask because of health or behavioral issues, how are those students handled within the classroom if they're not able to wear a mask?
Well, I think typically those kids will be in a separate cohort. Am
So-
I right?
so,
That
not
been
necessarily,
No,
yeah,
not
no.
necessarily, okay.
So the guidance talks about maintaining at least 6 feet of physical distancing. There are alternatives like a face shield as opposed to like the mask I'm wearing. They're not necessarily a replacement for, but if someone can't wear a mask, the face shield is a potential sort of replacement without being a perfect replacement. You know, we have to take, again, I'll sort of revert back to what Commissioner Riley has talked about. We have to take each case on an individual basis based on, you know, the need of the student and how we can manage that particular situation. So if we have students who struggle with this type of mask that I'm wearing, can they wear a gaiter? Isn't a replacement for a typical mask. Can they wear a face shield with a gaiter? They just wear a face shield. If they can't wear anything, then, you know, again, the experts talk about 6 feet of physical distancing is appropriate. So we can't bar them from school if they can't wear a mask for an acceptable reason.
I think it's not, I think what it is that it is a little unclear right now in this, the way this is written. And I know that,
Is my
okay. And I know that it is something that needs to be written broadly to cover a lot of stuff. We have in the plan, in the reentry plan, we do have it all laid out, because I have read it. So is it something that we can,
I mean, you've accepted the entry plan, so I think we can go without it
Right,
for now,
so
but I do think
right,
policy is important. My suggestion will be near the top, after the first paragraph, we have kind of an, in general, anyone in the school grounds needs to wear a face covering that covers the nose and mouth, you know, sort of an in general policy. During school would be sort of further down, where we outline sort of the whole idea of the waivers from doctors or mask breaks or other times when they don't need to wear a mask, sort of separated into those 2 areas. So I can work on that.
okay, so but you're saying now, say someone who takes a walk on school grounds, they have to be wearing a mask?
Technically,
When
yeah.
school is in session, when school is not in
Yeah,
session?
I would say when it's in session
So
is
when
more
school
important.
is in session, a member of the public who's taking a walk will have to have a face covering.
I would say, yeah. They're gonna be on
Okay, so
campus.
then you probably need a sign then.
We can do that.
So, okay, so then I think we need to clarify the language, and we will revisit this.
Excellent.
Okay, sorry, I lost my.
So we have 2 more things. The first is you need to appoint a Southern Worcester County Education Collaborative Board member. In the past, it has been the superintendent. It's a yearly appointment, so if you want to appoint me again, which has been the
Are you
tradition.
nominating yourself?
No,
Are
that
you-
would
I'm sorry.
that would be up to a school committee
I'm
member
sorry,
to nominate
are you
me.
expressing willingness to be
Well,
nominated?
that's the usual pathway.
Okay,
And
So-
and I'm happy doing it.
okay, so we do need to, a nomination for to appoint Mr. Lind, for this, year, board member to the Southern Worcester County Education Collaborative.
I move to, but move, just nominate. All right, I nominate him for Southern Worcester County Education Commission.
And we need a second?
A second.
Thanks, Ruth.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, 4-0. And then the last is something we've typically gotten every year. Mr. May, the coordinator, the principal over at Valley View, sends us his curriculum. I didn't print out the whole curriculum, but did put it in the Google Dropbox for school committee members to review. He provides a memo on changes to any of his coursework. There was very little. There were a couple of new courses in there. I saw 1 or 2. But he needs this for his certification for this public school district in the community to approve his curriculum. I've reviewed it with Rick. They do a wonderful job with their population, and their staff does a wonderful job. I would recommend that we approve the Valley View curriculum for.
Okay, so we need a motion. If no one has any questions, I'm sorry. Any questions for anyone? We need a motion to approve the curriculum for the Valley View School for the upcoming school year.
I move to approve the curriculum for the Valley View School for the upcoming school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. And surprisingly, we do not have any donations to approve this month. Really, we always do, but that's okay. And there's nothing else. If no one has any, school committee members don't have any questions or things that they want to discuss, I just would remind parents who are listening again, are there no chat questions or anything like that that need to be addressed?
No, just one. They said, may I ask about the roof at the high school? Any way we could use COVID money to repair it if it's already done? We cannot.
Okay.
We can't use
Yep.
that money.
No, the money for the is specifically for opening under these circumstances. So just a reminder again, forums are elementary school is Wednesday, middle school, high school is Thursday. The dates, or excuse me, the times are in the email Mr. Lynn sent out, and he's going to send out a Zoom link for all of them.
Motion to adjourn.
Secondly, the registration. So the final registration survey, which is actually not going to be the final survey, but no. No, that's a very important one that was sent out an email yesterday. And if people could complete it by Friday, that's why the forums are before Friday. And then there was, if you had questions, check out the facts sheet first, just to see if any of your questions.
We did.
Okay, well, all right. So,
we got most of it done.
all right, so you're gonna have to.
We're now stuck here forever.
Yeah, I guess so.
I move to adjourn.
Okay. I second.
Do you second it?
Well, I mean,
Unanimous.
you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, so. we're
Sorry.
done. Done?
Yeah.
Bye. We're